Welcome to episode 4 of our wonderful online wild food and foraging series that we've been creating for you whilst there is national lockdown still happening. We are in February 2021 on the very icy cold banks of the beautiful Wacker Quay. Now Wacker Quay is part of the Tamar estuary. It is an AONB spot, and today we're going to be talking to you about woodland wild edibles and some of the lovely succulent plants you can find growing on the side of the estuary. Then when we finish taking you through 5 of those lovely ingredients, we're going to be cooking a gnocchi dish, and we're going to be teaming that with our lovely buttery greens and hopefully some beautiful, delicious wild fungi from the woodland. So stick with us, we will bring you episode 4. Okay, so here we are with our first wild edible on today's list, and it really is the creme de la creme of the wild food calendar. This is the wild plant that chefs go nuts for, that everybody wants to have on their restaurant plate, that suppliers always ask for. Now, I am not a commercial forager, but commercial foragers will be seen at this time of year scoring the woodlands and the countryside for this. So what am I talking about? What is one of the best things in the wild food calendar? And that is the ramson, the wild garlic. Now, these are called ramps to our friends in America. We know them here as ramsons. And when people think about wild garlic, this is the plant that they're really looking at. So what does it look like? Well, it has a sort of lance-shaped leaf. It is very smooth to the touch, and it's undeniably garlic because sitting here in this woodland, all you can smell coming off the floor is allium, is wild garlic. What can you do with it? Well, what can you not do with it? People put it into butters, they put it into stuffings, into stews, into pestos. They make wraps with it. I think someone even made a wild garlic sorbet on a site that I was seeing the other day, which frankly sounds hideous, but you know, if you're into that kind of thing, then why not? Today we are going to put it into a butter and serve it with some beautiful young spring greens that we're going to have with our gnocchi. But it's just a wonderful thing. This will get very tall. It will then have lovely white flowers on it. And then when those flowers go to seed, you can even pickle the seeds as well. So our beautiful #1 wild edible in the woodland today are these lovely ramsons, our wild garlic. Number 2 on our list brings us deeper into the heart of the woodland, and what we're really looking for now is what I call the treasures of the trail. Now, a lot of friends that know me call me Pixie, and that could be because I'm known for serving up dishes that look like they could be served to the pixies or the elves or the fairy queens. And the ingredient that I'm going to show you now is really the embodiment of those dishes. So if you come down and look at this part of the floor, you'll see these bright blotches of scarlet, and here we have an edible fungi, an edible mushroom known affectionately as the scarlet elf cup. Now, they're known as cups because obviously they have these little bowl-like cut shape. I don't want to take too many from this area because when it comes to fungi and mushrooms, we need to be extra careful that we're leaving enough. So I'm just going to come and very carefully remove this larger one and hold it up so that you can see. Now, this one is closed in on itself a little bit, but if I prise it apart, you can see the beautiful scarlet colour inside there. Isn't that beautiful? It almost looks like the inside of a heart. Now, these are absolutely delectable to be fried in just a little bit of butter. I like to slice them very thinly, and a little bit goes a long way. They do pack a beautiful punch of flavour. And also the contrast, if you're serving this with bright green, vibrant spring dishes, you've got that wonderful aesthetic contrast of the red on the dish as well. It is not a fungi that you can confuse with poisonous ones, really. They are here in February, in the early spring, in wooded areas, and you're looking for that closed cup shape. So we're going to have a look here. I'm going to take a couple more for my dish, being responsible to cut them off carefully off the branch. So here's another. This one is beautiful. It almost looks like a little belly button almost. You see that there? Scarlet elf cup. So I'm going to pick a few of these, and then we're going to definitely have those in our woodland dish today. Number 3 on our list today is one of William Wordsworth's favourite plants. In fact, so much so that he had it engraved on his gravestone when he passed away, and that is the only member of this family of plant which is edible. Now, this is called lesser celandine. So the family of plants is the ranunculi, the buttercup family, and this is the only buttercup which you can eat. Now, how do I know this is an edible buttercup and not one of the ones that you can't eat? Well, it has a very distinctive leaf, unlike any of the rest of its family. It's the black sheep, if you were, of the buttercups. It's almost heart-shaped. Now, I like to think of them almost lily pad shaped, but they have this gorgeous little heart-shaped leaf. Now, another characteristic of them, if I pick another one off here, you might be able to see a little more clearly, is that they have a lighter indentation running around the outside of the leaf, almost like little tiny splodges of light green. So they have a lovely heart-shaped, these little light indentations around the outside, and when you turn the leaf over, now this one's got mud on it, let's find one that's not been splattered with the February woodland mud. If we turn the other side over, it has a lighter green than the darker on the other side, and it does not have the lighter indentations around the outside. So here we are, darker glossy green with the light patches. Turn it over, it's lighter. Now it's very waxy. It's a waxy succulent type leaf, almost like a waxy crayon. Now you only eat lesser celandine before the plant has flowered. That is because when it's flowered it changes its chemical makeup and it's not that nice to eat anymore. So we're picking the young leaves before it flowers. When they flower, they have those lovely waxy yellow buttercup-like flowers that are quite common in the woodlands and in meadows. So with our lesser celandine, you don't only find them in woodlands, you can find them at the bottom of hedgerows, you can find them in meadows and in parks, but here in this beautiful woodland, the banks are carpeted with this lovely succulent leaf. So we're going to be picking our lesser celandine today to be wilted slightly in butter with our ramsons to accompany our wonderful umptious potatoey gnocchi. So here we are, number 4, and the great thing about this woodland walk today is that we're also by the estuary. So Wacker Quay has such a fabulous diverse environment when you're foraging, because we have these beautiful salty estuary plants, and then when you go up we have our lovely splendid woodland plants here in the spring as well. I'm saying spring, it is February, but it really does feel like spring is here. We've got birds everywhere, we've got all these beautiful young plants shooting up, and this here is one of my favourite estuary plants to forage for. Now this is called sea purslane, and sea purslane is what I call the peanuts of the sea really, or the estuary, because it is a very, very salt rich plant. It's succulent and it's actually like a little salty snack as you're walking along, but when you're adding it to dishes it requires you to add no seasoning really, because it does retain that saltiness. So I pulled a leaf off and you can see just by the texture on the flesh there, the salt is all over it. It's like a mottled, almost like snowflakes have come down and landed on the leaf. So very, very salty, very succulent, very beautiful. Do give things a wash when it's all by the mud of an estuary. But we are going to be frying these in the butter and putting those on top of our lovely umptuous gnocchi balls. Sea purslane. Okay, so the final plant on our list today is one that we already covered in episode 2. So if you want to go back for a detailed analysis of this plant, please refer back to that video on our YouTube channel. But we're having a look once again at Alexanders. Now, as I said, Alexanders were brought here by the Romans to be used as a vegetable, and the whole part is edible from the root to the stem to the leaf to the flower to the seed. Now at this time of year, February, we are concentrating on one of my favourite parts of this plant, and it is one of the most beautiful, succulent and delicious of the edible wildflowers that we have growing in the early part of the year. Now you're probably looking at this thinking, well, what flowers, Vic? 'Cause I can't see anything. Well, this is where we have to go down and look into a secret world. So coming down here into the rosettes of the Alexanders themselves, what you want to do is focus down into the centre rosette of the plant. When you do that and you run your hand around the base of the plant, you feel almost like a pregnancy, a fat part of the plant. And if you snip your scissors through, and I bring this up to camera, you can see that we have a large fat parcel here. Now, it's a bit like unwrapping a present. It's very exciting. You take off the outer leaves. Oh, what a lovely sound that was. Take those off. Put those there, and you can use those for stock, and we can put those in the salad bowl, so we won't throw those away. But here we have the beautiful belly of the plant, and this is actually the young unopened flower. Now, if we take our scissors and just tidy that up a little bit and run them through the centre of that and we put it in half, you can see we have the beautiful heart of the Alexander flower here. Now these are a delicacy. Some of the things I love to do with them is just to braise them in a pan, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, absolutely delectable. Another thing I really love to do is with rice flour. Get your white rice flour and your water, whiz it up, dunk these in, and then just gently fry them. They are absolutely beautiful as tempura, and then dip them into yogurt or another dip of your choice. They're really good to be lined in a baking tray with a cheese sauce poured on the top, and then you almost get like a kind of like a broccoli cheese, but using the Alexanders instead. They are absolutely beautiful. They are crunchy, they are succulent, and they are a proper forager's delicacy at this time of year. So they are our Alexander flower hearts. Now we're going to take you back into a kitchen where it's a bit warmer and going to cook you something wonderful with these ingredients we found today. So here we are at the cookery section of our foraging walk today, and we are very fortunate that we have come in from the cold and into the lovely warm Honey Rooms Cafe in Millbrook, which is run by my lovely friend Nick, who's kindly let us shelter in here to cook for you today. So what are we going to do with the lovely selection of wild edibles that we found today? Now let's have a quick recap before we go on to what we're doing. So we found our beautiful ramsons, our lovely wild garlic. We have our only buttercup that's edible, our lesser celandine. We have our lovely, beautiful, vibrant scarlet elf cups in this gorgeous red colour. And we have the hearts of our Alexander flowers. So here are the hearts. And then last but very much not least, we've got our beautiful succulent salty sea purslane, which is going to give us the natural seasoning that we need in our dish. What do we need from the shops? Well, the reason why I chose a gnocchi dish is because it uses basically leftovers. So I have two children. They both really enjoy sausage and mash. And quite often we have some leftover mashed potato. Now, if you don't have leftover mashed potato, obviously you could peel and boil a couple of potatoes. Any potatoes is fine. Mash them up, keep them a little bit firm before you mash them, and let that cool and put to one side. The other things that you need from the shops is some flour. Most people have flour already in their cupboard. If you haven't got flour already in your cupboard, don't rush out and buy anything new, but a good flour to use for gnocchi is this fine pasta grade, 00 grade flour. But again, whatever you have in the house. We need an egg. One egg, I've got 6 here, but 1 egg will do. You need some butter or some oil if you don't eat butter, if you're vegan. Obviously, if you're vegan, you don't add the egg. You could use a little bit of oil, but we'll come into that when we're making the actual gnocchi itself. I've got some capers as a garnish, they are optional, and a few other things which are very optional as well. So let's get on then. First of all, you need to put a pan on the stove and you need to bring that up to boil. Whilst that's happening, you want to get your mashed potato and pop that into a bowl. And then you want some of your nice flour. Now, I cook by eye. I do not use weights and measures. But if you are one of these people who likes to know what's going in, there are tons and tons of gnocchi recipes online. Look one up and it will give you the measurements that you need for how many people you're cooking for. Or if you like me, wing it and bash it all in. Now, with my egg, that's going to go in the bowl as well. Crack that in there. And then we're going to start off using a spoon just to get that mixed up together. And then when you've got all the really squelchy stuff out of the way, you bring your hands in and you want to mix it into almost a firm dough. I can hear that my water is starting to boil, so I'm just going to turn that off for a minute. And what's really nice about making something like gnocchi is it's so easy to do that my kids can do this. You know, there's no real skill involved in the cooking, but it is unctuous and lovely. And I've gone for a plain gnocchi because I really want to bring out the beautiful, fresh, vibrant flavours of the wild ingredients that we've got here today. So bringing that then into a ball. We've got our dough, and what I want to do now is just give it a slight knead on the bench to bring it all together and make sure that the egg and the flour are all nicely mixed in. What we want to do now is roll this gnocchi dough out into a firm sausage shape, and you're looking for probably a good girth. Okay, so now we want to cut, or maybe I'll go a little bit thinner actually. That's better. Now we want to cut this into little pieces. So just using the sharp knife, cut your gnocchi into smaller shapes. And whilst I'm doing that, let's get that water back to bubbling. Almost there. Water to the boil, fantastic. Now, I'm going to plop them in. Careful not to splash the hot water up into your eyes. Add that in, and they'll go to the bottom, and it's quite nice because then all of a sudden they go boop, 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 and they float up to the surface. Now, whilst they're waiting to plop up and float and come to the boil, we are going to chop up our wild garlic. This beautiful, lovely ramsons. Give it a nice rough chop on the bench. And you can just smell that rising off the board. It's absolutely beautiful. The pungent, lovely, garlicky flavour. So delicious. Wild garlic stores really well in the freezer. So when you pick lots of it, do keep some back for later in the year when it's no longer in season and you're craving a bit of that garlic punch. So the other thing I want is my beautiful lesser celandine leaves. Get those ready on the bench as well. Now the gnocchi is just starting to float, which is great. So they need about 3 minutes. So we're going to let that on there without it boiling over. Whilst that's happening, we're going to get ready our other ingredients. So we've got our Alexander hearts here, nicely cut in half. So you remember that when we were out in location, we slit them in half, and we've got this beautiful flower-like heart in the middle. And our lovely scarlet elf cups. Now, with the elf cups, with the smaller ones, I tend to leave them whole as they are because they'd be very beautiful like that on the dish. With the larger ones, we're going to give them a chop using our knife, give it a quick wipe. So we're going to slice these elf cups, just the larger ones, into thin strips. And I'm going to leave these little ones here for, whoa, okay, watch your pasta doesn't boil over, very important. This one can be sliced. Now, a lemon is something that's nice with this dish. I've got a bergamot lemon here, only because they're in season, it's February, and lots of the shops are selling them. And they just remind me of Earl Grey tea. It's beautiful, that bergamot. Get our capers open already. It's such a quick dish, this, that you're going to be quick and careful with what you're doing. Lovely. Coming to, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We are so almost there with getting those out of the pan. I've got my lovely purslane ready here as well. So now we're going to take these gnocchi, look at that, we're going to take them out of the pan and pop those on this plate. So those gnocchi will go there just for a moment. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to heat some butter in this pan. Now you could use oil, but I have a thing about butter. I like butter, and I certainly like to put green things in butter. Get that melting down in your pan. Now the first thing that you're going to want to put here are your Alexander hearts, because you're going to want to just braise them on one side. On the dish, pop those in. We're going to smell in a minute. That's beautiful. Well, I wish there was smell TV, because you're going to get this buttery, this brownness, this perfume from the Alexanders all coming through. Delicious. Actually, what we can do now, when these are just getting brown, is to put in some of our scarlet elf cups into that butter as well. Oh, if you look in this pan now, it's just, the vibrancy is incredible. We've got that bright red. They almost look like capsicum peppers, they're so red, against that vibrant, lovely green of the Alexanders. So turn those over. Right, okay. So just going to take the Alexanders off. I'm going to put those on the dish. Be careful not to burn my hand. Come back to heat. A little bit more of our fabulous butter. Butter in the pan. In goes our garlic. Oh, sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. And our celandine leaves. In they go. Careful with your burning hot pan. Now you just want to scatter this over the dish. Oh, so delicious. Then you just want to lightly put that in the pan. I'm not going to add any more butter. I'm going to dry fry these in the butter that's already coating the pan. The pan is still nice and hot. On goes the sea purslane. This is going to give us a crunch, more of a crunchy, salty texture. Just doing that. A few of my capers. I do love a caper. And I like the acidity of the vinegar of capers running through a dish as well. If you've not got capers, don't worry. These are just optional things. I'm just giving you ideas. You can be as creative as you like in your own kitchen. Okay. And I like to just cut them in half because I like to see the different colours and textures of the food in the dish too. Now, we should now be good for our purslane to come off. Sprinkle of purslane. Nice, nice, nice. And then to finish, I've got some walnut oil. You could use olive oil. I just really like walnut oil. I think it will bring out the slightly nutty flavour in the scarlet elf cup mushrooms as well. So a little bit of oil. We're going to squeeze our bergamot lemon, being careful not to get too many pips on there. And then finally, last thing we do is a little grating of Parmesan cheese. Just a bit. Now this is very luxurious, very umptuous. Obviously it's not cheap. You could use cheddar. You could completely omit the cheese if you wanted to. But I just think with Italian style dishes, a bit of cheese on there is no bad thing. And we've got these beautiful little primrose flowers that we found in the woodland today as we were walking back to get our cab home. We can put those on the top just to make it look like the beautiful spring dish it is, and some fresh primrose leaves. Just put those just like that. There you have our gorgeous and beautiful woodland dish today, which is our gnocchi, flavoured with our estuary greens of sea purslane, our wild garlic, our lesser celandine, and our lovely beautiful Alexander hearts all there together. Absolutely bellissimo.